Should you convert or take the Obamacare subsidies? Kevin writes in with a good question. And unfortunately, there's a lot of misunderstandings here. And I think Kevin epitomizes what a lot of people's misunderstandings are when it comes to a lot going on here. And I'll share it with you here in just a second. And he said you can do a video on this if you want. I'm doing a video, I think, what he isn't expecting, though, because I'm going to dive into some fallacies here that need to be addressed for sure. And it's not just for him, it's for a lot of people. I find this a lot. So, all right, so let's dive into this. And again, this is not to chastise this guy in particular, but it is to educate. I don't know how else to say it. I'm trying to educate. We're not chastising, but there's some terminology that's got to be understood. There's some tax code rules that have got to be understood. So let's dive into this. He says he's going to be 45 years old next year and he won't work anymore. He'll be fired, financially independent. He's going to retire early. And he wants to start doing conversions to Roth. But how much? It says I have so many years to roll over a traditional. I think I can leverage the standard deductions and keep taxes at a minimum, or should I expedite the rollover and get it all tax-free sooner? All right, so he's conflating two concepts here. He says conversions and he says rollovers in the same sentence. And I got to explain this. Basically, a rollover is you have an employer-sponsored plan, be it a TSP, a 401k, 403b, and you're rolling that money over to an IRA. That's called a rollover. It comes from an employer-sponsored plan and it goes to an IRA. Now, there's two types of rollovers. There's a direct rollover, so you get your Delta 401k and you're rolling it over directly to Vanguard IRA. It's a direct rollover, right? It just goes one-stop shop. But there's an indirect rollover, which says it's a Delta 401k. It's going to end up in Vanguard, but it takes a detour first where it goes to you, and then it goes to Vanguard. That's a indirect rollover. And if you get the money, you got 60 days in which to put it in that Vanguard IRA, or else it'll be taxed as a full-fledged distribution. So two types of rollovers. That's it. That's what a rollover is. It's moving money from a 401k, an employer-sponsored plan, into an IRA. Two types of rollovers. And again, that's what a rollover is. Now, there's two types, like I said, a direct or an indirect. So you got to get that terminology. I'm telling you, it's critically important. Moving money from an IRA to a Roth is a conversion, like he did mention, but that's a conversion. We're converting tax-deferred money into tax-free money. That's a conversion, all right? So that's, I just can't stress that enough. That is a conversion, all right? So you're moving tax-deferred into a tax-free account. You're converting the tax ramifications of that money. All right, so you got rollover, 401k to IRA, conversion, IRA traditional to IRA Roth. Now, just lastly, you have contributions, which is you're putting money into your Roth, and the limit's, I think, $6,000, $7,000 a year, depending on your age for 2019. That's a contribution. So you're putting just cash money from your checking account into your Roth via a contribution. So three things: rollovers, conversions, contributions. You got to get those things straight, because if you don't, and you talk to your provider and you say the wrong terminology, that could screw things up. I'm telling you, and that would be on you, because the provider would say, if the tax man ever said, hey, we did this conversion, we did this rollover, we did this, we did this, we did this, and you say, oh, that's not what I intended, you'll be on a recorded line, or they'll have a letter from what you said. You got to be very, very clear on this for sure. All right. But here's the real kicker. If our income stays under $64,800, then we also qualify for the marketplace healthcare discounts of $350 a month. Let's see where my little buddy is here. Okay, good boy, Pablo. That's $4,200 a year, which he says is like another $4,200 a year in cash, which is true in the current system. Do I roll over beyond the marketplace savings in the first year, or do I maximize the Roth conversion and the healthcare discounts? I'm not sure what that question is. I don't know what he's saying there. Do I roll over beyond the marketplace? See, this is where he's confused between rollover and conversions. You can roll. I'm not. It's confusing. You can roll over as much money, and again, going back to what the rollover means, moving from a 401k to an IRA, you can do that well, you can do it once a year, but you can do that without affecting whatsoever your tax burden. A rollover from a 401k to an IRA does have nothing to do with your taxes. Won't have anything to do with your Obamacare premium subsidies. Nothing. It's a conversion the conversion. That's why you got to get your terminology correct here, everybody, because the conversion is what would affect your subsidies. All right, so he says, should you roll over? Yeah, roll the whole thing. It's not going to affect anything. When it comes to Roth conversions, that's different. So this is another where he gets confused by. Traditional would be 450,000. So he's got 450,000 in traditional. He says Vanguard is producing 37,000 a year in earnings with 17,000 qualified. Folks, it doesn't matter if it's qualified, long-term capital gains, interest. It doesn't matter if it's in an IRA or 401k. It's all ordinary income. It matters not. It matters not. And I just, the issue that he's got here is just saying Vanguard's producing 37,000 a year in earnings. I don't know how he's getting that. Is he looking at his previous returns? And he's saying, hey, I started with 100,000. Now I got 137,000. So I got 37,000 of earnings. I don't know. But it doesn't matter. It's literally the most irrelevant thing that ever happened in the history of mankind, other than a heat wave going through the South right now, is the idea that your earnings in a 401k means anything. It means nothing. It means nothing because it's all coming out taxed as ordinary income. It matters not. So what Kevin says is, I'm making 37,000 a year in earnings, and that leaves him 27,000 that he can convert to a Roth and still save on healthcare. So I'm confused at why he thinks that Vanguard earnings would affect his AGI. It doesn't. The only time it affects it is if he pulls the money out. That's what I'm saying. I'm confused, and I imagine if I'm confused, I gotta assume that he's not quite seeing the big picture. So let's go back to 37,000 a year in earnings on 450,000 bucks. So he's saying 8.2% is his, I guess, his return. I don't know. It could be preferred stock. I just have no idea. But it has nothing to do with anything. I cannot stress this enough. You can make $1 million in earnings in your Vanguard 401k. Your 1099 is still zero because you have no distribution. If your 1099 is zero, you have no tax consequences at all, as long as it stays in Vanguard. You can, as long as it stays in a pre-tax plan. You can make $1 million of earnings in qualified dividends. It doesn't matter. Now, if you make $1 million of earnings in qualified dividends and take a $50,000 distribution, it matters not if it's earnings or principal. It's still coming out taxed. You still got to pay income tax on that as ordinary income. It matters not earnings, long-term capital gains, short-term capital gains, interest, taxable. It doesn't matter. You're getting a certain amount of growth in the portfolio. It doesn't matter. You're losing money. It doesn't matter. All that matters is distributions. Your 1099 that says, Kevin, you took $50,000 out for whatever reason. It doesn't matter if it's principal. It doesn't matter if it's earnings. It doesn't matter if it's interest. It does not matter. You okay, big man? Thanks. All right, so in this case, he's confusing earnings relative to what he can be able to take out to still continue to qualify for the Obamacare subsidies. So he got $450,000 in Vanguard IRA. Oh, here he goes. Here's my boss, man. He got $450,000 to qualify in Vanguard IRA. He wants to keep below $64,800 in order to retain his Obamacare subsidies. Pretty simple stuff here, in my opinion. I say just start doing conversions. So you roll over the whole thing to Vanguard from your 401k, and then you start converting enough in order to live on, right? Because you still got money, you still need money to live on, and presumably that money will be taxed because if it's coming out for the IRA, you have to pay tax on it. So I don't know where the money comes from, groceries, putting gas in the car, property taxes, the whole thing. I don't know. But let's just say you have $100,000 in a checking account. All right, so we're going to say you don't need any money to live on, other than what's in your checking account. Hey. It's okay. Hey. All right, we'll pause it for just a second here. All right, so just going back to that, I'm not sure where the cash comes to pay the bills, but if the cash comes to pay the bills out of your IRA, that's going to limit your amount to do conversions. So at the end of the day, is it worth it to do conversions above and beyond what the subsidies you could get on your Obamacare marketplace health? Probably not, frankly, but because you can still do, you're only 45, dude. You got many, many years before Social Security and before Medicare kick in. So even if you're only doing $20,000 a year, you're gonna have plenty of time to get that all over to your Roth. So I would take advantage of the subsidies, absolutely, and do as little as you. Just make sure that you're following the tax code precisely and what the Obamacare subsidies are, because you don't want to be accidentally doing too much. I guess the benefit would, if you did just you knocked out in 5 years, you're going to pay an extra $4,200 a year for your health insurance. It's up to an extra $20,000. But I'd try to keep underneath the subsidies amount. Absolutely. That's what Pablo says. All right. Well, I hope this helps. Thanks for the email. Thanks, guys. Oh, just real quick. By the way, I had to. Someone had mentioned the other day, why don't you, he said, I love dogs and I like Pablo, but can't you just edit him out? I'm like, no, I can't. I'm never going to edit Pablo out, FYI. And I know sometimes he barks and it might be, it might be a little bit, you're like, whoa, I wasn't expecting that. Hey, man, Pablo's part of the family. When he's part of the family, he stays, man. He stays in here. So I'm not going to edit him out. I never will, because I actually enjoy Pablo being part of the crew here. So just FYI. Thanks now. Oh, in fact, Pablo says, yeah, that's right. I'm not going to be edited out because I rule the roost. I am the host. I am the show. And if you edit me out, that's like Stalin. I'm not going to edit. I'm not like Stalin editing out Trotsky. I'm going to stay here. And Pablo says, I rule the roost anyway. And it's his show. Just remember that. It's Pablo's show. Thanks.